Welcome to the DevReady podcast. Joining me on the DevReady podcast today, I have Tim King. For those of you that are new here, I haven't actually met Tim before, so we're going through this journey together for the first time. Tim, welcome aboard.
Hey, thanks so much, Anthony. Thanks for having me onto the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Why don't I let you introduce yourself and who you are, what you do?
Sure. So I'm Tim King. I'm the founding director of a company called Regravity, and what we do is work with mid-sized businesses who are in that growth phase, sort of anywhere between about $1 million annual recurring revenue up to about 10 million is kind of the space. What we do though is provide business process automation consulting. So essentially, if you've got a business, you've got to a point where you've grown pretty significantly and you're finding your scaling is a little bit problematic. That's where I can come in and help take a look at your business processes, or our team can come in and do that. And then, with working with us, we find some inefficiencies you've got in your business, work through a decent audit to be able to find all those little pieces, and then get you rolling with some good automation to both save you time and money, and then not so much impacting headcount, but definitely freeing up your staff to do better things.
It's something everyone needs at the moment, and as you will know, with AI, it's made a lot more things possible. But before we dive into that, what got you onto this path? Because you said you weren't always in this space.
Yeah, great question. I suppose so. I have a bit of a hodgepodge background and history. So my history starts with me doing visual arts and being a visual artist and sort of doing fun things with sculpture and painting and drawing and everything up through university. In university, I found a love for digital media. It was something that my university degree was actually more in digital media, so doing websites and video presentations and videography and 3D animation, all that kind of stuff. And then broke out into my own business back in 2005, bringing the web to the world that didn't need the web at that time. So while it was a great idea, on the surface it gave me a bit of structure, some rigor on how to be able to run a business and those things. Unfortunately, there is two things that people do need to have to live, and that is to eat and pay rent. So because I was not diversifying enough in that case, I folded it and went into the world of corporate finance. Corporate finance, I won't spend much time on that at all, but many different roles there, from customer service to tech, all the way through to internal engagement and a few other bits and pieces in between. A lot of videography as well. But while I was there, I had the opportunity to be able to really, I suppose, flex my automation chops. So starting off, on the help desk with their 17 different, batch file fixes they had for all sorts of different things, and re-automating a lot of those and consolidating them into like a menu system, which, as far as I'm aware, they used to use up until fairly recently. And just throughout the time, they're always developing a little bit of software to be able to solve a problem, or finding a way to be able to produce some better results using some automation tools. Whether that be simple macros inside of an Excel spreadsheet, all the way up to full-blown OS automation, and eventually led me into using, or being exposed, I should say, to PowerShell and Power Automate. Love both of them. PowerShell more than Power Automate. I think Power Automate is great for a Microsoft environment, not so good for everything else. Yeah. But that flexibility at PowerShell, I really managed to be able to cut my teeth on getting deep into it. It's scripting, not coding, I suppose, if you want to talk about it from a purist perspective. But
it's similar.
It's similar.
You're still writing code.
Yeah, exactly. It's similar. And I was doing some pretty fancy things with that, which was always fun. Spat out at the end in 2020 of that corporation. And I was doing internal engagement. But moved into copywriting, and I know this is, as I said, it's a very, very strange path to be able to get onto getting back into tech. But when I was running my copywriting business, one of the things that I needed to do was to be able to improve efficiency. It was just me, and it was something that, while I was good at being able to sling words around and get the products and processes done, what I always found as a struggle with things like marketing and getting just little things out that I didn't have the time in my day to be able to do. And while I could go hire a virtual assistant, I sort of stumbled upon other systems and tools to use. Of course, I was already a user of if this then that, and Power Automate was always up there as well, and PowerShell as well. But I started investigating heavily into Integromat, which has now become Make, and then lo and behold, this sort of just bastion from the heavens all of a sudden dropped upon us called N8N out of nowhere, and started switching pretty heavily across to that. A little bit less plug and play, a little bit more coder friendly, but yeah, definitely started using that. And I was automating everything from my marketing in certain cases, but it wasn't AI at that point. It was just more I'd write some pre-releases or some marketing material and then get that published out to LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and wherever else I was pushing it. Same thing with, getting emails and triaged. It wasn't so much, again, AI triaging. It was just triaging them based on subject line and things, just about to clean up and automate that space. And now we find ourselves in the grips and throes of the AI generation, and we're doing pretty wild and crazy things with that now.
Yeah, they've really taken off since ChatGPT came out, and really once. So for those that don't know, N8N lets you. It goes like a step deeper than Zapier. It lets you write code plugins, but you can have more flexibility. It's not just a single straight line flow, one task after the other. You can put in controls to branch and switch and loop over things. But then, once they brought in their wrapper for agents and chat models, that I think it really blew up that product. That's what everyone uses now. So I don't know how many screenshots you'll see if you just go through LinkedIn and just see people posting the ultimate agent workflow or whatever they're doing. Just all screenshots out of that product.
Just get a TikTok and type in automation. You'll find about 9 million different videos on it right now, of all different varying qualities too. So be careful if you do that.
How are you finding businesses reacting to trying to decide what to automate or how to approach it? Because you're going to that mid-level where they're looking at scaling, so they're going to have quite a few problems, which is, all right, they can't afford to do it. They've got to do business as usual. They want to automate, but they don't know how to start, or they don't have anyone techie on board, or they don't. I'm guessing a lot of people don't even know. Like, they use ChatGPT, but then they think that's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think a part of my job role as founder is really is education of the client base. So while the few people that do get exactly what it is and how it can benefit a business are advocates for businesses like myself or brands automation like we do. It's something that there's still a hurdle there to be able to say, okay, well, what can be done and what is possible to be done versus what's compatible to the thinking of the actual the business owner. Because like a business owner, where if they're not in a non-tech sort of I suppose computing focused business or industry, one of the things that they'll do initially is they'll go, right, well, we've got a problem. We need to move this piece of paper from point A to point B. Well, that takes a human. So then they'll go hire a human. Now, one of the things that is the fundamental basis for my business particularly is I tout what I call human-centered automation. I always want to try and keep the humans in the loop, whether it be through decision-making processes or approvals, or even just freeing them up from a task that they don't need to do, but not to replace them in any sort of capacity, but to actually just augment their role, give them something better off to do, and get better worth out of it for the company, get better ROI out of their employment. So getting people across that, I think a lot of business owners have fear when you first initially approach them about automation, because they think that, well, if their employee can be automated, well, their role could probably be automated too. And look, largely, yeah, okay, you could do it, absolutely. But human oversight is something that is sort of what I usually educate people on, that this isn't just going to come in and take your job and run your company for you. Mm-hmm. As much as I've also had those conversations too. I've had a couple of unscrupulous people come to me and go like, oh, can you get rid of all my employees? Sure, no, I'm not going to do that. So,
and that's the wrong approach for a business to take when looking at doing this stuff.
Right.
You're going to have businesses that are going to want to do the same with less. So how do we reduce cost, increase our margin, but deliver the same? But then you'll have majority, I believe, is going to be how do we provide more value, and how do we get more out of our people doing the same amount of work? So how do we get them onto higher value tasks or providing more value as part of what they're doing?
Yeah, agreed. And it all comes down to what's the saving? Where can you actually save a business? Is it time or is it money? or is it system sprawl, or just the 17 clicks to be able to get from point A to point B? One of the often ROI calculations I'll use for a client, when they start to get the automation thing, but they still haven't seen the value in it yet, is I go, well, okay, let's talk about your shop floor. You've got 5 shops in Melbourne or something, or you've got 10 employees somewhere clicking buttons all day. What's the lowest value task they perform? How many times do they do that? Okay, so we find out that it's 5 staff members doing it 45 times a day each. Good. How long does it take? They usually say this, it only takes a minute. Okay, that's wonderful. That's 45 minutes out of the day, times 5 people, times 5 days a week, or sometimes 6 and 7 days a week, depending on the business. Let's look at that from just purely a calculation of time versus then how much you could, or what you could be getting them to do instead. What are the other tasks that are just sitting there on the pile burning while they're clicking that button? How can we get you from point A to point B a lot faster? Is there decision making made in between, or do you need something a bit more advanced, like a more of an AI infused automation that will help make, I suppose, better, not so much as better decisions, but it'll give you better gates to be able to get your information through, get your business through.
And I think having that lens of looking at it as purely as a time calculation, it's really eye opening for some people. Yeah. We understand it because we develop software for people and trying to understand, all right, there's a process here. So we're in the middle of designing a product for a organization, and they're going to have about 100, 150 end users with a mobile app. And currently there's like 5 clicks to do everything. We can reduce it down to 2. It may not seem like a much, but that 5 to 2 repeated multiple times a day over 100, 150 people, that's a lot of time. But aggregated across 150, you don't notice it.
One of the things that I think, I haven't seen a lot explored on this. Maybe you'll have to write a white paper on this particular aspect, but we always talk about customer experience. We always talk about the experience of when a person comes to your brand or comes to your business. How does it work when they click the button? Did you have to get them to jump through 75 burning hoops of death before they can order your product or get your service? Or where's all the friction points, right? The same thing's true of what is sort of in the term now EX, which is employee experience. So if you got to look at the uptick of all this sort of stuff on your employees, particularly if you're a business trying to automate and get a lot of things done. Not only is the time saving there, not only is there cost saving and just being able to get the I like to call it the dumb shit, get the dumb shit off the list, and get it automated and get it functional and working and robust. But from an employee perspective, morale goes up, because they no longer have to click that button 75 times a day.
Yep.
They don't have to write the report anymore because the report is automatically generated. It's now, instead of a report, it's a live dashboard that can be presented at will anywhere in the world. It's starting to free them from data collection, gathering, presentation, all of that kind of stuff as well. So your employee morale goes up. The employee experience goes up, hopefully, if the business owner is scrupulous and they're not firing people because they've no longer got headcount. Then the business starts to feel better internally as well. I've seen it a couple of times happen now where they've sort of gone from just a struggling, where they've hit a cap, they can't get past a roadblock, get a few things automated, then immediately within 3 to 5 months, people are starting to love the company again that they work for. Because they're no longer having to push those hard buttons again.
Yeah, and just improving little tweaks along the way to make their day better, and there's less of that mental fatigue that way as well, and then having to remember things because it's automated. It's not you having to remember everything or have paper checklists. When you're talking to some of these businesses, you may have found something similar to what we found, which is a lot of them, when they're looking to get to that scale level and go to the next level, they don't have systems in place. Still a lot of paper. And then that's a hard thing to bring an automation into, because now you've got to do process plus that, and you can't automate something that's not digital to a degree, because you can a lot easier now through like OCR and those sort of things.
Yeah, so it depends on the needs of the business. This is why all of those console cowboys out there right now who are slinging end-to-end automations around and thinking they're building these like epic libraries of reusable automations that you can just bolt into any business.
It
I'm going to
doesn't
tell
work
you
like
right
that.
now, the guys, that if I'll speak directly to these console cowboy guys, that's bullshit. Because every business is different. No matter if they are similar until they're not.
Yep.
Basically, they may have enough systems, or they might not have enough systems, like you said. Yeah, breaching that conversation's hard. And look, I mean, I'm really honest with them. I'll say, look, actually, you're not ready for automation yet. Or, maybe I'll say you're 80%. I'll give them a bit of a temperature check. You're 80% ready, but, you're a sales company. Why don't you have a decent CRM plugged into your business? Why are you still running it out of a spreadsheet? Can we run it? Can we automate the spreadsheet? Yes. Should we automate the spreadsheet? Probably not, because it's a dead system. Or it's dead data sitting there until someone picks it up and starts looking at it, right?
Yep.
So it's not ideal. Can be done though, and look, I mean, it also depends on their operational clarity, their budget, what their level of tech capability is, whether they're willing to onboard another platform or something. I'll give them a few recommendations on a platform they could look into. That's definitely something that I won't implement for them though, because I think there's many more people out there who are specialists in those fields to implement those particular tools. I may eventually go down to the point of getting a couple of preferred platforms on board in that case, but right now it's more yeah. Look, honestly, if they've not got a system in place that I can't automate, we can't work together,
Yep.
and that it's a shame. But hopefully, with enough leverage and giving a bit of guidance up front, that they'll come back to me once they've actually got a system in place to
Yeah.
do a bit more of that stuff.
Being top of mind, providing enough assistance, being upfront
Yeah.
and transparent with them, and then people respect that. That's why they will
Mm.
remember you and come back to you. But it is challenging with some businesses because some of them are very stuck in their ways as well about how they do things. And you may be that's not the secret sauce of the business is that specific process. So you should be able to change that. So allowing an automation or a process to come in and change that to allow something else down the line where that's what you're known for to deliver that certain value is where so you need to be, not be stuck in a specific like this is where I'm drawing the line when it's not necessary. But
Yeah,
that's just trying to
exactly.
deal with
Look,
people.
I saw that recently on like the customer front end of a business, and a month after they'd had automation rolled in, it wasn't us that had automated. It was a friend of mine who had a different business through, but it was so a month afterwards, they started getting better reviews on Google, and they couldn't figure out why they were getting better reviews on Google, and it was because their front of house staff could actually spend the time with the customer to be able to walk them through the product
Yeah,
and
makes
not
sense.
not just like sling them an email and expect the customer to read the whole thing top to bottom. They could actually spend time with their customer. They started getting these glowing reviews. It's just like just even the smallest of automations can just help improve things in all sorts of ways that you kind of can't map initially.
Oh, definitely. I'm running one at the moment. Probably talked about it a couple of times the last couple of weeks where it's trying to summarize all of the AI news that I'm watching on YouTube and consuming through podcasts so then I can share that information to the team.
Hmm.
And without having a process and the AI nodes in NAN, I wouldn't be able to do that and share that amount of information that I'm consuming with the team. So I'm not expecting 40 people to go and spend 5 hours a week each watching the same videos. There's no
Right.
point.
Yeah, that's a classic example of it. Even like I love that actually. Having a person who's in a highly regulated industry or some other industry that changes very rapidly, like ours, and being able to digest information becomes a really critical thing. So even
Yep.
just having, yeah, like an automation to be able to grab 16 different news feeds, remix it down, figure out what's duplicate, and then give you a one pager every morning to have a quick read of, is a game changer.
Yep. And I think I might have to use that one. I haven't got that one in place. I still go to all the different websites. So yeah, you mentioned sort of like the cowboys before. You're probably seeing what I'm seeing like on LinkedIn, which is a lot of people now starting to use so NAN with all the agent functionality now, and I'm seeing a lot of posts like here's the ultimate one agent you need for your business that does everything, and then if
Yeah.
you look at that, and then you look at like the YouTube videos where they're showing you what they do, it's an agent where you're talking through a Telegram bot and you're telling it
Yep.
to do the exact same thing that you would have done, and the amount of time it's taking, it would have been quicker for you to just do it.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And that is the holy grail. There is not the holy grail. I always ask the question before I automate anything. Before I've got a bit of a checklist that I run through with a client, and I'll always look at it and go, is it worth automating? What's the time sink? What's the cost saving? And should it be automated in the first place? Is there something that is particularly intricate that can't be replaced easily to be able to then, whether it be decision making or some other type of thing? But no, I'm seeing them as well. I actually saw one the other day. It was insanity. And it was quite clear the person had just tripped over like the N@N forum on Reddit and had all of a sudden started an automation consultancy, and they were like, oh, here's this AI agent that can do absolutely everything. It had somewhat of about 100 nodes in it. It was this massive mess of just. Yeah, it was insane. But then, like, they showed the video, and it looks impressive because you click the run workflow or test workflow button, and it ran through all the different stages, and it did the thing that he exactly told it to, which was honestly just look at some email, write an email, and send it to someone.
It's just
And
ridiculous overkill.
it was ridiculous. Like I've got some experimental stuff that I'm working with on my own behalf. I have replaced Siri on my iPhone with an AI agent. So I've got a single button I can just press. I talk to Dixie. He goes off and does stuff. If anyone gets the reference, I'm a big fan of William Gibson, Neuromancer. So in the book, there's a character called the Dixie Flatline. Definitely worth a read. But that's why I've called my AI Dixie. But and so he can go off and do all those things too. I can ask him to give me a summary of the day about what's coming up. So when I woke up this morning, said to him, hey, here's what's on for my day, and it told me about the podcast we're going to be on today. Gave me a bit of background and things. So it like as a way to be able to speed up my ingestion of stuff, it's great. But when you start getting these really cowboy guys who are just slinging automations around, and you're absolutely right, it's honestly just a Telegram or a WhatsApp or some of they've managed to like spend the time and actually wire Slack to it, and the AI agent node, and then an output which might be a bit fancy. So they'll often plug in 11 labs to be able to give it a funky voice, and then send it through. Where if they had actually thought about their platform, like Dixie was originally 11 labs as well, but I went, well, what's the point of that? It's literally, it sends all its data back, all of the written data back to my iPhone. iPhone's got a text-to-speech engine on it, so it just voices it with the platform. So two things I find are very apparent. One, they're either doing so simple flows that people will pay for them, sadly, but they're not going to do what they say on the tin, or they're so complex that the only way to be able to get any worth out of it is to be the person who built it in the first place.
Because specific to what you wanted to solve.
Yeah,
solving all of your 100 problems.
Right. There's no middle ground. And then they're also poorly explaining them.
Yep.
It's digestible content online on YouTube and on TikTok and all the other platforms, LinkedIn, because it's visual, because it's a visual workflow editor. If you gave someone and said, hey, this is a really cool automation I've just built, here's the 75 lines of Python code I just wrote, that doesn't make a very compelling video.
Yep.
But when you click a button and it goes like step to step to step to step and then does the thing and you show the output, I mean, the videos write themselves.
Yep.
It's actually one of the reasons why I haven't gone into doing videos of that kind of caliber at all. And when I do start launching some stuff on TikTok this year, I'm going to be doing something very different in the space versus like more around the education, the how, the why versus this. Let's just bash out 100 videos on this simple AI automation.
Yeah, and there's a big difference between a lot of those people that I've seen is, all right, they're trying to sell a course or an online community where you go in and you pay for templates or whatever it may be, but they only know N-A-N. They don't understand what they're actually doing. They don't code. They don't have that programmatic mindset. And then they're using an agent. So you've got ones that are 100 nodes or some that are one node. So you've got an AI agent that's got one tool to write you an email. But they're not factoring in the cost and the time it takes for the agent to do whatever it has to do to figure out how to use that one tool, rather than just, here's the email, here's a prompt, write the email. Look, that is all you need, is one chat prompt rather than an agent, which is now consuming time, resources, and cost.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing too, is that it's, what are you automating at that point? Are you automating the writing of the email, or are you automating the the pickup of the email and the opening it in your Gmail, or are you
It's
automating the send button? Which bit are you actually automating there? Because by the time you've and look, I mean, I know I can build one of those very quickly because I've done it plenty of times. But you get a new person off the rank. Look, I'm pretty active on the end subreddit, and I see it all the time where people are in there, and they're actually just vibe coders yelling back at the community, going, "I've hit a problem, help!"
yeah.
And it's like, well, no. The reason that you've hit a problem there is because you didn't learn what a JSON object is, or what JavaScript is, how to be able to interface with that, or you don't understand the standard, very simple component of the logic breakdown of what a loop does, or when you've got output, you don't know what to do with the output. So I see that all the time. There's just all these people coming through, and it's funny that this whole concept of vibe coding's come up as well, because
Yeah, you'll be getting a lot of noise in that forum from that over the last couple of
oh,
months.
it's mental. Actually, it's really funny. There's two vibe coding subreddits as well. One of them is serious. One of them's one of them's not, like, it's humorous. It's worth actually joining both of them just to have a laugh. It's so funny sometimes.
And the AI coding it's a great tool when you know how to use it. If you don't
Yep.
know anything about coding, you're going to get to a point where you're not going to know what you're doing, which is what these people are doing, because they don't understand the basics. So it's going to be a big problem moving forward. Like, we're getting inquiries from people saying we've been working with it for 3 months, 4 months, building something. It's got a lot of bugs. How do I get it live? How do I make it work now? Because they don't understand the fundamentals or know what
Yeah, wow.
they don't understand how to release software and get it to a point where it's stable and something they could actually go to market and scale.
Yeah, security, big issue with this sort of stuff too. That's probably the biggest issue. The amount of times that I see people like this is really scary actually. When I first started to I suppose rebuild N8N for myself, I started looking at just the security practices and securitization around it. And it led me to Shodan, which I'm sure you're familiar with what Shodan is. And if anyone isn't, it's basically a big scraper platform for open hardware and open architecture that's just sitting out there on the web, live to the web, with no or very little security in front of it. And what actually led me to this was I was just I was doing some metrics on my own site and just doing an external metric walk. And I found my site, someone else had typed in my N8N URL, because I self-hosted, on this site. Led me to Showdown. I had a look at it. There are just like, I found there's a Spanish host who's out there, and it was immense. It had every port on this server completely wide open because every single port that was open had an N8N instance connected to it. And yes, there's a bit of security on front of it, but like, one of the things that like, a lot of these console cowboys or vibe coders aren't thinking about is not just how to build the platform and get it published and get it monetized, but then once they get there, they've got a giant security hole half the time, because yes, the AI might have sort of half thought about security and told them to, I don't know, stick a cloud firewall in front of it. But then once they've exposed anything to the web, they don't understand how to harden it down, how to be able to secure that. Yeah, it's from a business owner's perspective, I can only imagine how many people are out there now who have N8N instances that have been built by a fly-by-night or sort of one-shot AI agency, and it's completely wide open. That they're like, even like Telegram. You said Telegram before.
Yep.
Only until recently, the Telegram node didn't have any like header auth control or anything on it. So if anyone doesn't know about this, and it's actually a bit of education I give to people a lot, is that Telegram is like, when you build a bot on Telegram and you stand up one of those on there, it's open by nature. If someone can search and find the Telegram bot name, they can use your bot, meaning that if you just hard plugged it into your AI agent and you've got your OpenAI API tokenization key just plugged into that, they can just sit there and just like, even if they don't get the output, they can just sit there and burn your tokens all day if they really wanted to. But not only that, it's a massive thing, because if it does return something and you've connected some data to that, they can just query your data at will from Russia or wherever they happen to be
From
in the
anywhere,
world.
because you've given them a way to do it.
Exactly, exactly. You've literally just opened. You might as well just throw your keys out the front door, leave your front door wide open, your car unlocked. The whole lot.
Oh,
So
you're giving them
it's
the keys.
well, yeah, essentially, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's actually it's better. Yeah, you're right. They're just walking past, just hand it to some stranger. So from a data security perspective, yeah, that's probably yeah, and it's a big concern around that sort of stuff as well. With these, as I said, console cowboys,
Yep,
they're just slinging stuff out. The other one is probably that I see a lot, and I don't mean to keep going on about this, but
that's okay.
is that they evaporate into thin air. So they come into a business, and look, I'm okay with it because it means that my business gets a lot more
Yep,
traffic
you get
because
what we
people
call
want to come to
rescue
someone who's
projects.
right, right. And look, I think I think I said to someone about 2 or 3 weeks ago, if my business becomes 80% rescue projects, I'm okay with that because at least I'm helping out in the community. But yeah, they sort of come in, they build a miracle black box that works for now, and they just leave. They get their cash, they're out of the door. There's no maintenance or support, or very little. They're very hard to contact afterwards. And when it breaks, the business owner has no idea how to fix it or how to even get resolve the
Yep.
problem or anything. Because I think, and as you'll know, and you'll absolutely be able to back me up on this one, automation's great when it works. It's not if it breaks, it's when. Because APIs change, software changes, versions update,
All
things
the time.
break.
There's a lot of out of your hand things that can affect whatever you build, whether it's software or an automation. And if it's
Exactly.
something like a business owner then becomes a core part of what they're operating with, they're really up shit creek without a paddle. When it
100%.
stops working and they've got no idea about it because they don't have any clue, they can't get in touch with the person. You don't normally hear from people when things are working. It's only when things go wrong. And if you can't get in touch with
Yeah.
the person when something goes wrong, then you're stuffed.
Yeah, and look, if anyone is listening to this who's a business owner who wants to go into automation, I can only say if you come up to a person and they say they're going to sell you an automation for $300, walk away. If they're going to tell if they're
I
going to
don't know.
sell you an automation that has no support and maintenance based on the back of it at the end of that, walk away. Like they're not. It sounds cheap. It might get you across the line. Like if it's a one shot extract, transform, and load, you get it from one place to another. Sure, okay, great, do it. But if it's something that you're going to rely on every single day of your business life, that your employees are going to rely on, and it's going to fundamentally underpin the things you do, that the moment it breaks and you have to roll back to manual, and half of your staff have forgotten how to do it, that's when it's actually going to come down to crunch.
Yep. And that's when you need the support. So you make sure you got the right people, especially something like that. You need like a consulting planning phase to figure out what are you actually building, how are you going to build it, test it, what's the risks, what do we need to do, how do we harden it, and then go into the actual implementation. A lot of what the process, like the NAN stuff is, you can build it and experiment as you go because it's got that drag and drop. It's quite easy to do.
Yeah.
But the testing and the refining and trying to cover all the edge scenarios is the difficult part.
And look, I mean, even N8N isn't the be all of end all. It's not the end goal. For me, I think once an automation gets mature enough, then there needs to be a transition plan away from that anyway. It needs to go into is this where you then put it in hard code? Do you stand it up on a different service, or do you start migrating it into a different product or something? But yeah, like all of those steps are being missed by a lot of the people who are just knee jerking and creating stuff for no
Yep.
for because they're doing it, and they're sometimes it is kids. Like you get
Yeah.
into that NNN Reddit forum, and I don't know how many times I've read, oh hey, I'm a 16-year-old kid, I'm really bored in math. I'm looking. I've just built this agent, but I need help. I don't understand because I can't. Like the one was yesterday. This person was dragging and dropping fields into the NetN interface. Great, you can do that. Sometimes it doesn't work, and they didn't know how to fix that. And it was
Yep.
just really. I think I said back to them, here's a YouTube video. Go watch that. This will teach you how to actually understand JSON
Yeah.
objects and how to write
People
them.
just jumping in without the basics of how
Right,
anything works, and then they're seeing all these videos. This is how you're going to make side hustle cash or whatever it may be off
$1 million.
influencers and YouTube and TikToks, and then like, all right, we'll jump on board.
Yeah,
And then a
I'll
lot of them
sell
have
you.
jumped off the like, all right, the Web3, and then they went to NFTs, and then they just, where can I
Yeah,
make a buck?
yeah, yep. And then the worst one is I followed Alex Hormozy and I've made a school, and now come and see my school community, which will cost you I don't know, $90 a month to be in, and I'll teach you how to use N8N. And the reality is they're only one step ahead of anyone in that class anyway.
Yeah. So, what are you seeing like in the next few months or in the next this year with where you're going in automations and sort of the trends that are coming up just before we wrap up?
Just trends. That's an interesting one. I suppose I'm seeing a lot of requests for complex stuff, I suppose, is the big one that I'm seeing. Just people who, again, if they've looked at this YouTube content, or they've got a bit excited by someone who said, "Oh, this is really cool automation stuff you can do." So they ask what can be done, and they have these like starry-eyed kind of ideas. I think a rollback to just simple automations, just maybe 3 nodes, 5 nodes sort of automations are probably going to be starting to trend up a bit more, only because I think once we get past the rule of cool, the actual utility of automation needs to show its face. Saw it with Power Automate back when I was in corporate. You'd have like a lot of consultancies sort of rolling in, going, "We can automate near everything in your business." Great. Yeah, but we don't really need that. What we want is just that Barry doesn't have to pick up this bit of paper and input the data in every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's just simple stuff like that that'll underpin. I think from a trend perspective, MCP has come up a big thing. Which, if anyone's not familiar with that, it's just basically a protocol that the Anthropic guys wrote to be able to plug multiple tools into your AI agents to work with them. But that sort of came and went. It's almost an NFT joke. It's sort of come and gone because there's better ways to do that. I would say that like as the platforms mature, and I know Make is getting pretty mature now. They've only just launched AI agents on their own behalf in the last few months. N8N is obviously rapidly getting mature. I think I've had, in the last month, it's updated 12 or 15 versions or something, just in point versions. So I think just a stronger maturity in the space as tools get going. It's hard to say because it is one of those really rapidly evolving. Like we could
probably
have
talk about what do you think is going to happen next week.
Oh wow,
we're out of the horizon already.
Or even today with AI, or the Google's drop of Gemini, the Gemini AI for $250 US a month, that apparently slices your bread and makes your coffee in the morning.
Their apparent operating system, Gemini, or
Yeah,
whatever it does. I haven't even
right.
had a chance to read
Neither did I, to be
watch
honest.
everything, but it'll be some video tonight that I consume.
Yeah, I spotted a note come through my email early on today. But yeah, so I think it's hard to speculate when it comes down to the AI side of things. I think automations
Definitely.
It's just I think probably just more understanding is hopefully what I'm looking at seeing in the industry. More expectation from a business that they'd actually know kind of what they want to automate before we get in the front doors. I always offer an audit service up the very top anyway, because just asking the business owner, well, what do you want, doesn't solve anything. You need to get right into the weeds and actually understand where their inefficiencies are and what could be automated, because they haven't got any idea. But
you've got to ask the right questions.
Yeah, I think maybe just a broader acceptance, I think, of automation as a whole. Probably the other thing too would be a reduction of fear, because a lot of businesses are very afraid of letting go of the control. They're also afraid of, a lot of employees are afraid of it, of course, as well, because that does relate to job performance and job roles. But yeah, I think a lot of businesses hopefully will come on board with a bit more automation education, understanding what integrating it into their business can look like, and even AI in certain aspects into the business, to augment rather than to replace.
Yep. Well, there's a lot there to keep up with, and like you said, I think maturity and education is going to be the biggest thing. People just learning stuff as they go, but then it's hard to keep up. So as long as you can keep a few steps behind at some point for most people, then that's enough that you're ahead of the majority of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anyone wants to find out more and reach out to him, how can they do that?
Sure. So they can go to my website, which is regravity.com. I am in the throes of redoing a bit of it at the moment, so it may be in all sorts of various states. But yeah, so that's just the word gravity with RE put in the front of it. you can either go there. You can find me on various platforms. I'm not really posting much on any of the platforms at the moment. But yeah, look, come to the website. That's probably the quickest way to do it. I've got a contact form there. Reach out to me, have a chat. I'm always up to talk to new people about the things they want to automate, or just have a chat like this.
Yep. Awesome. All right. We'll add all that to the show note. Once again, thanks for joining me on an episode of the DevReady podcast.
No problem. Thanks very much, Anthony.
Thank you.